if you are watching this video, then I'm thinking you are already used to the features in Photoshop, the layout. Okay, so I'm just gonna begin. So first of all, I duplicate my image twice. Okay, so to duplicate, you can use Ctrl J to duplicate. So I duplicate my image twice. Okay, so I'm gonna hide this first one. I'm gonna start working with this one first. So first off, I'm gonna clean up the skin a bit. So I'm gonna take my healing brush too. Okay, so I'll take my healing brush too, and I'm gonna decrease the size a bit. Okay, so where the spots are, that's what I'm going to tackle. I'm going to alt click an area, and then select where the spot is, and then that's it. So I'm gonna do that for all the places that have spots or blemishes that I need to clear off. Okay, so yeah. So my model on my photo, she doesn't have lots of spots on her face actually. So okay, so depending on the picture you are using, just clear off all the spots. That's where you can begin from. So let me just do this. Okay, so we're gonna just delete this layer. Okay, so now I have cleared the spots on the face. So I'm just gonna go straight into my retouch process. Okay, so I'll be doing a tutorial solely on retouch, but then I'm going to incorporate it in this tutorial, just a bit of it in this tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to select Shift, Control, Alt, and E to create a new layer. So what it does is it combines the layers of what you've done and puts into a new layer. Okay, so that's what I've done. Now I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to duplicate that layer again. So for my retouching process, so I'm going to rename this to blur. I'm going to rename this to details. So the whole idea is to separate the details from my image. Okay, so that's why it's called frame separation, and leave the blur layer. So to do this, I'm going to hide this. Okay, so I'm going to first of all blur out this image. Okay, we want to smoothen the skin a bit, so I'm going to blur out this image. I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, so I'm going to keep my blur radius to about 4.4. So it should just be right to the point where you could see that your image is, the skin of your image is smooth and but not, and you can actually still see the image. Like it doesn't have to go all the way like this where you can't see the image. Right? You have to be able to see the image a bit clear, but it should also be smooth. Okay, so I want to keep around 4.3, 4.2. So after doing that, I'm gonna now select my detail layer, go to image, apply image. Okay, so under the apply image panel, I'm going to set my layer to blur, because I'm trying to separate the details from the image. Okay, so then in my blending mode on my blender, I'm going to go to subtract. Okay, so with the scale and offset, because I've been using my Photoshop for some time now, it's always set to scale 2, offset 1 to 8, so you can replicate scene. You can replicate scene. So scale 2, offset 1 to 8. So now this is what I have here. Okay, so what do I do next is I go back to my detail. I click on OK. Go back to my details layer. Change the blending mode to linear light. And yeah, so I have now separated my details from my blur, from my image. Sorry. So I have the details on one layer and my blur layer, my blur image on another layer. So when I disable this visibility, you could see it. Okay, and my details are back. Okay, so let me just zoom out a bit. So now let's go into, like I said, there's not a retouching tutorial, but no, it's a complete guide to the process in which I use in editing an image. So I'm not gonna spend lots of time on the retouch. I'm just gonna do something quick and then we move. Okay, so normally I like to create another blur layer just in case the first one, I have an issue with the first one. I don't have to now go through the whole process of going through the frequency separation, doing the frequency separation again. So I duplicate my blur layer. Okay, I'm going to work on the blur copy. Okay, so what I do is I take my mixer brush. Okay, take my mixer brush and then I begin from there. So with the mixer brush, you can look at my settings and then work with it. Okay, so I'm going to hide my details again. You can look at my settings. Like I said, I've used my Photoshop for some time now, so my settings are set to wet 9%, low 75%, mix 90, low 100, and smoothness 10%. So I'm gonna begin painting my image. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, so reduce the size of the brush. Let's go. So I'm gonna paint. So like I said, there's no retouching tutorial. There's a complete guide to the process in which I go through editing an image. So we're gonna just do something just to smoothen out the face a bit. But if I was doing a retouch, I would have taken my time more. But it was gonna. So the whole idea is to smoothen the skin a bit. And one thing is, you don't mix the darker areas with the lighter areas. Okay, yeah, and then you blend the shadows, the darker areas, the lighter areas. Okay, so but like I said, there's not a retouching tutorial, so I'm just gonna do something and go through it for you to see. So let's fast forward. Okay, so this is what I get after. So I'm just gonna unhide my details layer, and this is what I'm getting. So this is before, this is the before, okay, and this is the after. So let me put this in a group for you to see clearly. So Control G. Okay, so before and after. before and after. Okay, so like I said, there's not a retouching tutorial, so I'm just gonna go straight to it. So mostly after this, what I do is I do my dodge and burn. So I'm gonna just come here, set up my curves. Okay, then Control J, set up my curves. So I duplicate my curves. So I'm gonna name this dodge, then name this burn. Okay. So I'm gonna change the blend mode of this to screen for my dodge, and then for my burn I'm going to change to multiply. Okay, then on my dodge I'm gonna just I'm gonna change it to black, invert it to black, and do the same for the burn. Okay, so realize that now the effects of the blend modes have been hidden. Okay, because I changed this, I inverted this to black. So I'm going to take my brush tool, okay, then change this to white, and then I'm going to bring out the dodge first. So what I do is I'm going to hide my frequency separation there, okay, so that I get the original highlights and shadows of the image. So what I do is I dodge the highlights and I bend the shadows. Okay, so one more thing, my flow is set to 100, my output is set to 100. I'm going to reduce my flow a bit to, let's say, like 30, and then keep my opacity there. Yeah, so let's see. So these are some parts of the highlight areas. For a more detailed thing, you could just bring in the black and white layer here and then adjust it. But normally I use this for when I'm doing high-end retouch. Okay, but for the purpose of tutorial, let me just do this. But I'll do a tutorial on this, a full tutorial on my retouch process. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about all this there. So I'm back to my dodge. I'm going to dodge the highlights. So now I can see the highlights clearly, or the highlights where the lights fell when doing the shoot. So I think this is too much. So what we're going to do is going to reduce the opacity all the way down to like 10. Yeah, I still don't like the, because I'm going to reduce my flow, bring my flow down all the way to like say 10. So down this. Whatever comes to me, we could reduce it, we can still continue reducing the opacity. Okay, so we're going to review the highlight in the image, like in the forehead. So just to see what I'm doing, this is the before, the after. Before you realize that the highlights are coming out now. Okay, but like I said, if it's too much, you could adjust it in the opacity still, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple more here. Okay, so after applying, so let me put up the black and white layer for you to see what I've done so far. So let me turn on my frequency separation layer. I feel it's too much, so I'm just gonna reduce the opacity a bit. Okay, so let's see what we have here. That's not bad. Okay, so let's go to our bend. So I don't do much in my bend layer, so I'm just going to, I normally don't do so much in my bend layer. Yeah, so depending on the image you have, also the image determines what how far you go when you're using your dodge and burn. I'm going to do the same thing. Hide my frequency separation layer. Yeah. Hide the dodge layer. Then put in my black and white just to get the darker areas very well. Sorry. And then for this one, I'm going to reduce my opacity all the way to 5. My flow. Just maintain flow at 10. So like I said, I don't do too much on my burn. Yeah. So that's just me. Okay, so let's hide this. So before, after, before and after. So realize the darker areas are now coming out of the bed. I'm just going to reduce the opacity of the burn just a little, like 60. Let's see. I think that's okay. Okay. So I'm gonna delete my black and white layer now. Yeah. Then I'll put this in a group. I'm gonna name this dodge and burn. And I'll name this effects for frequency separation. Okay. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna now color grade this image, try and do some corrections on the highlights. So I feel my dodge and burn is still too much a bit, so I'm gonna reduce it just a bit. Like see it. So I'm reducing the entire thing. So okay, I think that's okay. It's okay for me. Okay. So let's proceed. So there are many ways you can color grade an image, but I'm just gonna use the basic one I normally do. But I'll do another tutorial on color grading, solely on color grading your image in Photoshop. Okay, so let's proceed. I'm just going to, so the basic color grading I normally do is to add vibrance, selective color, So I'm just going to use one, the selective color. Okay. But before that, I feel there are lots of highlights or lots of lights in this image, so I want the contrast to pop a bit. So I'm just going to go to my curves again. So I'm going to select the middle here and here from highlights. I'm going to drop my highlights just down a bit. Then push this up further. Then grab this. Yeah. So it kind of adds some contrast, okay, to the image. Okay. So this is what we have before. Right, the image was too bright, and then now this is what we have. Okay, good. So let's proceed. So now to the color grading. I'm going to open selective color. In my red, I'm just going to increase my reds a bit. So for the skin tones, increase my yellows in my reds, increase the cyans a bit, and magenta. Okay, it's too much. Let's keep that 3. These are 3. Okay. In my yellows, I'm going to decrease. So there's a whole analogy behind colors that I'll also be tackling in another tutorial. So keep on following me for updates on those ones. I'm just gonna drop down my cyans a bit and bring down my yellows. Okay. I'm gonna leave the magentas. Because her dress is green, I'm gonna tackle the green. I'm gonna bring down magenta, increase cyans a bit, and increase yellow a bit. Okay. Just to make that green pop. and then I'm going to come to my neutrals. Okay, I'm going to drop down. I feel like the black is too much. Okay, so let me just drop down the black a bit, like four. Four is okay for me. Four works for me. Okay, so um, basically that's it. So my blues, yellows. Add some blues to the shadows. Okay, so like I said, there are lots of ways I color grade. This is just a simple one. Hopefully, it's color. Alright, so now I'm down my. So this is a before, after, before, after. For the final step in my color grade, I'm just gonna bring in the vibrance to make the whole thing pop. Okay, someone else. So it's cool. So before, after, before, and after. So basically this is just the basic process I go through in editing my photo. I'm going to enter here. Um, so this is what we have. So this is the before, where we started from, this image, and this is the after. Okay, so thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you learned a lot. The other stuff I'll do in my next tutorial, like eye whitening, whitening the eye, clean out the background and all. But just subscribe to my channel, follow me for more tutorials on photo editing, and thank you for watching. See you again sometime. Bye.